Hi, Megan. This.
Hello, Bill.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I want to stay that way.
Good.
Are we conducting this meeting just the two of us?
I hope not.
Let's
I'm
go to the
good, though.
let's go to the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I like it.
Go directly to supper.
Well, I have another council meeting after this one, so I'm not quite to supper yet.
Are you doing the meeting, the pre-budget meeting tomorrow? You setting that up?
Pre-budget meeting, no. I believe Kelly is setting that one up. Kelly and Brianna.
Okay.
We've got planning advisory committee tomorrow morning, so I think Fran's probably going from planning advisory committee right into your pre-budget meeting.
I wonder how many houses get ransacked as a result of Zoom meetings.
I've heard of some, not anyone that I know directly, but I have heard, and that's why we don't turn cameras on for members of the public.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, Bill and Tom and Megan.
I can see
You
Francis.
scared Tom off.
Hey, Fran. Oh, yeah, I got me muted here. Okay, I'm back on, Megan.
And
Perfect.
Sally. I think Sally is with us too.
Sally doesn't have a microphone beside her name, so I'm hoping she is working on that right now.
It says she's connecting to audio.
Perfect.
Good.
You filling in for Cindy tonight, Megan?
No, well, kind of. So because we've got the two public meetings for the zoning bylaw amendment applications, Cindy asked if we could use Zoom instead of WebEx because the Zoom platform is a little bit better with the public coming in and out.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm here for that portion, and then Cindy will run the rest.
No, that's good.
Francis, is the meeting tomorrow at noon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And 6 o'clock tomorrow night?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm trying to arrange some work in between.
I knew that you stopped for lunch. That's why I picked noon.
Okay.
I knew you had to eat.
Bring a box lunch, will you?
Yeah, but don't turn your video off when you're eating lunch, Bill. We don't want to see you eating lunch.
Are you sure?
No smacking allowed.
That's right.
There's Victor. He's tied up in his mask.
You know, when you wear hearing aids and those damn masks at the same time, you have a tendency to pull your hearing aids out of your ears.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true, eh?
I don't know whether you guys have been watching. I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't know if you guys have been watching that Barrett with the commission there today, but man, that lady's a pretty sharp lady.
She is sharp. I saw a little bit of it.
Oh yeah, she got my vote.
That's a typical conservative vote.
Oh, she's a very bright lady, Bill.
Trump's not telling her what to do, she says.
No, and I don't think anybody else will either.
It's certainly a different process when the last time they denied Obama to have a judge put in 9 months before the election.
Well, we won't get into the political part of it, but anyway, she's still a nice lady and very bright.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Sherry.
Hello.
Victor. Hi, Victor.
Oh.
All right, we got a quorum. Let's get at it.
Not time yet. But we are going to be done before 6 o'clock because Megan has to leave. So does Victor.
No questions, no discussion.
So if you have something to say, make it very succinct and to the point.
Okay.
All right, I'm hungry.
Good. That always helps. Hi, Sally.
Hi.
Hi, Sally.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
Sally, I downloaded your presentation on my computer, but if you want to screen share as well, either or, I just have it as a backup.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's the little guy on the bottom?
Brent is connecting.
Yeah, two little guys, big guys in the bottom.
So, yes.
Hi, Tyson.
Hi, Kathy.
Okay.
Tyson.
Hello.
Brent.
How are you?
Hello, everyone.
Cindy Kelsey is connecting to the audio.
There's Kathy McMunn.
I'm here. Little in the dark, but hey, I'm here. It seems. All right.
I really
Sorry,
miss
can
seeing
people
everybody
hear
in
me?
person.
What's that, Sherry?
I said I really miss seeing everyone in person.
Yes.
It may be a while yet.
Yeah.
We'd have to wait till we get our hall too fixed up anyway, if we're going
Yes.
to.
Is it torn apart right now?
Yes, they've got the ceiling it's all tore apart, so.
You should have our counselor picture up in front of you there, Sherry, so we can remind you of us.
I should, Tom.
You mean the one she throws darts at, right?
No.
No, she just shows them at Bill.
Generally speaking, I find any time now that when I go to a lot of gatherings, I'm the oldest one in the room, but I appreciate our counsel that I'm not.
Wonder who he's referring that to, Tom.
I have no idea. Must be the person, somebody just signing in now.
I think so.
There's Nikki. Hi, Nikki.
Probably talking about Elwin. Elwin's older than me, isn't he? Not on yet.
They're talking to Ellen. We're trying to get you on.
There's Cindy.
Hey!
There's Cindy, yeah.
So the only one we don't have yet is Elwin.
I'm trying.
He's trying. Nikki's trying to help him out here.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Tom, you got your leaves all gathered up yet from your trees?
That's Shirley's job.
Enter your ID followed by pound.
Well,
Otherwise,
when she's done at your place, send her over here.
Yeah, I know you probably had a few. Yeah, we've got a couple over here as well.
meeting password followed by pound.
A couple of dump truck loads when we're done.
For goodness sakes, I did it wrong.
I'm guessing Shirley's not there to hear that.
She's not far away.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Appuyez sur le 0 pour choisir.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound. Please enter the meeting password followed by pound.
Where is that man? Somewhere in England?
You entered 7283227. This meeting password is invalid. Please re-enter the meeting password followed by pound. The meeting has not started. Please wait or try again later.
So, Nikki, if you wait, I believe it should just be the elevator type music that plays. And then once I hit broadcast, he will be let in.
Yes, he has elevator music right now.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, I knew.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, and it is 4 o'clock. Now, before we start, I would ask everyone to mute yourselves. And then when you go to speak, on mute. That way the background noise won't be interrupting us. Okay? All right.
Madam Chair, may I broadcast the meeting out to the public?
Yes, please do. We will, in a second, call the meeting to order. We are recording now. Okay, so we're going to call the meeting to order. First item is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Bill McDonald that the rules of the procedural bylaw be suspended to move the item number 11, public meetings, and number 9, delegations, to the beginning of the agenda after item number 5, mayor's remarks. And further, that the agenda for the council meeting be approved as presented. Are there any amendments? Bill?
Yes, Madam Mayor, number 11 on my agenda is communications.
You're right.
If I may clarify, Madam Mayor, I think the numbering has changed because we've moved the items up in the agenda, so that changed the numbering on our, the numbering is if we were going with our regular agenda item.
Okay, so that number is correct then? It is confusing, but.
Okay, I have no problem. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Or you could just basically put in that to move the item public meetings and delegations instead of the numbers, just in case. Yeah.
Remove the numbers.
Okay, so Tom and Bill, you're okay if I remove the numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Consider that done. And so is the agenda as presented? All those in favor? Let me see your hands. Motion's carried. Okay. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council on any item on tonight's agenda and the general nature of that pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll record that. Approval of the minutes. I have a motion moved by Sherry Wan, seconded by Bill McDonald, that the minutes of the council meeting held September 22nd, 2020 be approved as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. And next is mayor's remarks, and I just have a few remarks to start. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and ate lots of turkey and ham and stuffing, I'm sure. It was a beautiful weekend. Hopefully we'll get more of those, but I don't think we can count on it. I want to mention that our treasurer, Mr. McGovern, received a letter from the ministry to say that he was one of 15 representing municipalities who got their financial returns done on time. So there was 15 out of 444 municipalities, and our municipalities was one of the 15. So he's the big winner. He didn't win anything except honorable mention. So good for Michael and all the work he does. Staff are involved in the flu clinic that's coming up at the end of October. I have heard that our firefighters, some of our public works, our administration staff are all working with the medical center and the health unit and the paramedics to make this a community flu clinic. So I'd encourage everyone to get the flu shot. The last thing I want to say is there's the Joint Services Review Committee meeting coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. by Zoom, and I hope all of you can attend that meeting. I think it's a very important one. We'll get the basic information, and then we'll probably have some special meetings ourselves to deal with the different components of that review. It's been a long time coming, but it's very important, and hopefully will bear some fruit down the road. Okay, that is all I've got for this point. Deputy Mayor, do you have anything to add?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay, does anyone else have anything to add? Okay, hearing nothing, we're going to move to our public meeting section. And I have something I need to read to get our meeting started. Megan keeps me on the straight and narrow here between Megan and Crystal. Okay, the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac is conducting a public meeting under the Planning Act with respect to the applications ZB 0120 Charlebois for the establishment of a temporary use being a food truck, and ZB 0220 to rezone the Verona Animal Hospital property from general commercial to rural. I will now ask the Deputy Clerk to advise the method by which notice of the meeting was given and confirmation as to the date that the notice was given.
Madam Mayor, I can confirm that notice was placed in the Frontenac News and on our website on September 24th, 2020. Notice cards were placed on the properties and notices were mailed to all property owners within 120 meters of the property in accordance with the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any person who wishes to receive a copy of the minutes of the public meeting, a copy of the report, or notice of the passing should indicate their full name, address, postal code, and contact numbers to Kathy McMunzio, clerk, at the contact information provided in the report. This information is also available on the screen and on the website. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Central Frontenac before the proposed amendment being approved or adopted, the person or public body, one, is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, and number two, may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The procedure for the public meeting will be as follows. The planner will be asked to explain the purpose of the public meeting. The applicant will then be provided with an opportunity to discuss the proposal. I will then inquire if there's any person present who wish to make an oral or written submission on the proposed proposal. If so, you should announce your name and state whether you support or oppose the proposal. And Megan will explain how to do this through our technology. Should there be any other person wishing to make comments or ask questions about the proposal, they will also be given an opportunity to address council. The applicant will also be given the opportunity to respond to issues arising from the public comments. Please be aware that all persons wishing to address the issues should direct their comments and questions through the chair. I would also note that personal information collected as a result of this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Municipal Act, the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act, the Planning Act, and all other relevant legislation, and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All personal information is defined by MFIPA, including but not limited to name, address, opinions, and comments collected will be made available for public disclosure to members of the public at the meeting through request and through the website of the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac. Questions regarding the collection, use, and disclosure of this personal information may be directed to the clerk. I will now ask Megan Ruckwell, Manager of Community Planning, to advise how members of the public can participate in the meeting. And Megan, you can show anybody waiting how to do this.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. When the meeting is open to the public and Township Council is receiving public comments, we would ask that members of the public on the line please use the raise hand feature to notify the chair that you would like to speak. So if you're connecting via a laptop, it's most likely at the bottom of the screen. If you're connecting via a tablet, the raise hand feature may be in the upper left corner of the screen. We do have a few members of the public joining us by phone this afternoon as well. So same feature applies, but instead of hitting a raise hand button, please dial *9, and that is the equivalent of raising your hand using a computer, and that will notify the chair that you would like to speak. And with respect to public comments or requests for decision following the meeting, as the mayor mentioned, please send the information to Kathy McMunn, who's the CAO clerk. Her information is included in the planning report on the Township Council agenda, as well as her email address is available here on the screen.
Okay, so Megan, you're going to lead us in the public meeting?
Perfect, sounds good. Thank you, Madam Chair. So the first application before council this afternoon is a rezoning application to permit a temporary land use, being a food truck or a licensed refreshment sales vehicle, as it is known in the Township zoning bylaw, at 24719 Highway 7. Currently, as council will be very much aware of, the township is undergoing a process of updating the township official plan. And as part of that process and update, there are policies included in the draft to look at a licensing or permitting system for food trucks across the township, recognizing that these uses are temporary or mobile in nature, and a licensing or permitting system would be a much more user-friendly system for a potential owner going through a food truck system. However, without a licensing or permitting system in place, a food truck is not listed as a permitted use in any zone in the zoning bylaw unless a site-specific rezoning is applied for. In the case of this property, the applicants are seeking site-specific rezoning to allow food trucks at this location. Planning staff have reviewed the application for consistency with the provincial policy statement, as well as conformity with the county and township official plans. And a site visit was held with planning staff and township staff, actually everyone who's on this call now today from a township staff perspective, except for Steve instead of Tyson, attended the site to review the proposed location and to ensure that all policies could be met. The township did receive public comments over the weekend, and the council agenda was updated today with those public comments included. The public comments speak to traffic and noise along Highway 7. And I'd like to inform council that prior to receiving the application for the rezoning, staff did require that the applicant consult with the Ministry of Transportation, as Highway 7 is a controlled access highway, to ensure that the ministry had no objection to the placement of the food truck in this location. The applicant has provided approvals from MTO, demonstrating that MTO has no objection and is satisfied with the proposed location. The other comments that were received as part of the letter sent by the public spoke to garbage and scavenging animals. And we can, I think all are aware that food trucks, there is waste that comes from those. And that's something that the applicant is very conscious of. And we had a conversation regarding that this afternoon. I would note that garbage isn't typically dealt with through the rezoning process, but instead through other mechanisms that the township has, such as bylaw enforcement for, say, properties and property standards. So while that's considered as part of the rezoning, it's addressed and can definitely be enforced through other mechanisms that the township has right now. And the same with scavenging animals, more so looking at appropriate receptacles being installed on the property to ensure that those are addressed. The intent of the public meeting, as noted in the chair's opening remarks, are to receive any additional comments from the public. Planning staff have prepared a report with an amending bylaw and are recommending approval of the application and to pass the amending bylaw if council is satisfied that any public comments that come in through the public meeting this afternoon can be adequately addressed. If council feels as though there are additional public comments coming in that require staff to further consult with the applicant or the applicant to do additional work, council may always elect to defer the application to a forthcoming council meeting.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak?
So I do see a few members of the public on the line, as well as the applicant who would like to speak. I would remind anyone if they're calling in to use the *9 feature if they would like to speak. Madam Chair, are you okay if I proceed to unmute the applicant?
Yes, please.
Chris, I am unmuting your microphone now. You should be receiving a notification. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, Chris, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Chris Charlebois. I am the applicant. I did address those concerns that the community member did share. As far as the garbage, I do have several, I guess, receptacles for garbage with a lid on it. So it's not going to just be blowing away in the wind, or it won't be easily accessible for scavenging animals. I do want to say though, I am going to be emptying those out on a daily basis. I will not be leaving them overnight for animals to be getting into. As far as the traffic, I have thought about emailing the MTO and seeing if they thought it'd be a good idea to maybe reduce the, I'm not sure how that would go, but if they would be into reducing the speed limit through that zone. I mean, it's right close to the major hub in Charlotte Lake, right off Highway 7 as it is anyway. I mean, and I did some research before I bought the food truck just about how busy Highway 7 does get through that area, and it's very busy. I did my research on a rainy Wednesday evening, and there was still about 80 cars that passed by in a 10-minute period. So it's just that being said, like it might help to have a reduction in speed anyway, regardless of the food truck being there. And then, yes, so and then as far as the noise, like, I mean, I think reducing the speed probably would reduce the noise level as well. And you know, with the KMP trail right there, there's going to be noises coming from ATVs and whatnot to begin with. So as Megan said though, the traffic and you know, I did get approval from the MTO to run a business there, and they had no concerns. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. Oh, and I guess like part of the garbage, I did do a big collection of garbage earlier in the summer. I had some friends out there, and we took a bunch of big garbage bags, and we collected 4 very large garbage bags worth of garbage already. That being said though, I know everyone's not perfect, and I know there might be some waste coming from the food truck once I deliver or hand out the services that I provide. And I can't control what people do with their garbage, but I will have very, you know, like I said, multiple receptacles with signage and trying to promote environmental friendly practices. And I am also really trying to source out some biodegradable products as well. That being said, like the containers and cutlery, I think Canada in itself is going in that direction right now. So it's something I've always been pretty into. And like I said, Charlotte Lake's beautiful, and I don't want to make it any dump. Like I don't want to like be a cause for that, for it to degrade into, I don't know, like garbage flying everywhere. All right.
Okay. Do we have anyone else, Megan?
There are no other additional members of the public who have raised their hands, Madam Chair.
Okay, does any member of council have any question or comment for Chris? Victor.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Chris referred to a suggestion that I was going to make, being requiring compostable containers and products. These are very fashionable at the moment. We don't need the styrofoam clamshells anymore. We can get all kinds of containers, including utensils, which are compostable. They are a little bit more expensive. So perhaps not in this bylaw, but something to consider for when we are doing our official plan. When we are talking about licensing these refreshment vehicles, maybe we could require that they use compostable products. Now, that doesn't really address the litter problem so much, but what does happen is at least they will break down and they're not going to be there for years and years and years. One of the problems with these compostable products is that they are more expensive than the other products. And perhaps what we could do at that time as well, if we were to put this in our official plan, is to inform our neighboring municipalities that that's what we're doing, encourage them to do it so that it's a level playing field economically for all the food trucks. That's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no hands. Megan, do we pass our motion now, or do we do the next part of our public meeting and then deal with the motions?
That would be a Cindy or Kathy question.
Okay.
Right. Well, I think Cindy's prepared a couple of motions, so you can maybe do the one in regards to that council received the public comments.
Yeah.
Just on this application.
All right. Let's do that then. I have a motion by Cindy Kelsey and Tom Dewey that council received public comments regarding the application to amend the zoning bylaw WIP Charlevoix. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, and then the bylaw will be presented later in the meeting for the approval. All right.
Correct.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go on now to the Verona Veterinary Hospital Professional Corporation. Megan, do you want to give us the information on that one?
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Chair. So the second application and the second public meeting being held is ZB0220, which is a rezoning at the Verona Animal Hospital, which is located at 53 Westport Road. The proposal is to rezone the lands from General Commercial Exception Zone 13, which does permit the current use, which is the veterinary clinic or animal hospital, to rural zoning to permit residential uses on the subject property. The rural zoning permits a variety of uses, ranging from agricultural uses to residential, to places of worship, for instance, and is very much compatible with the existing landscape and neighboring properties. The neighboring properties to the west are actually zoned R1, which is a zoning that you typically see within the settlement area, as the properties to the west are just within the settlement area boundary of Godfrey, where the property, this and then to the east are all outside the settlement area, and the neighboring properties to the east do have this rural zoning and are of a comparable size or even slightly smaller. An exception zone is proposed with the rural zoning to recognize that the zone is deficient in area and frontage to permit non-residential uses and residential uses in the rural zone. This exception zone is almost a straight carryover actually from the general commercial exception zone. So both required the same size of properties. The property currently was undersized and slightly had less frontage than required and will continue to remain undersized and have less frontage with that. And that's why the exception zone is once again proposed. There was some reformatting done to the planning report, and I believe there were a couple carryovers from the food truck report that made it into this report. So just for council's understanding, there is no food truck proposed on this property, just the change of the land use to permit residential uses. And public health was not circulated as part of the application because it's a less intensive land use being proposed. You're going from commercial to residential. If there were any changes done to the building as part of a change of use required by the building official, those would all be reviewed from KFLNA Public Health as well. And no public comments were received in advance of the public meeting.
And is the applicant with us?
The applicant's agent is on the line this afternoon. Would you like me to, I guess, Catherine, if you'd like to add to the conversation, would you please use the raise hand feature? I'm not seeing her raise her hand, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on this application?
Madam Chair, I am not seeing any members of the public on the line use the raise hand feature.
Okay. Okay. Any member of council have a question or comment? Don't see anyone with their hand up. Okay, I have a motion. Moved by Brent Cameron and seconded by Nikki Gowdy that council receive public comments regarding the application to amend zoning bylaw, Verona Veterinary Hospital Professional Corporation. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, the public meeting is now concluded unless there's someone else that needs to speak. Okay, I would remind any person wishing to receive additional information to provide their name, address, postal code, and contact numbers to Kathy McMunn, CAO clerk, to the email address or phone number shown on the screen. And that concludes our public meeting. Okay, so now we have Sally McIntyre from Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority who'd like to speak to us tonight. Sally, welcome.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to share my screen. Do people have hard copies in front of them as well?
If they wanted it, they print them off.
Okay, okay. So I'm definitely going to share my screen then.
You do that, okay.
Great.
Some of us are diehard paper people.
You know what? You're talking to one of those. I still have difficulty. Okay, so can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, very good. All right. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is, first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself and what we've been doing here the past 18 months since I joined. Give you an update on the letter that I sent a few months ago now regarding the water environment or an erosion control infrastructure letter that we sent to the province. A bit about our strategic planning that we're going to be doing. And lastly, and very importantly, talk to you about the work we're doing on the Watershed plan. So I joined 18 months ago and it's been a pretty exciting year, I have to tell you. It started last year with the AGM where we saw over 50% of the members change around the board table, including the addition of Elwyn from Central Frontenac. As a result, we have a new chair, vice chair, and committee chairs. So there's been a lot of change at the executive level. And then in the past year, we saw over half of our senior management team retired. So there was a lot of change at that level. And as you can expect, there was a lot of knowledge that walked out the door. But thankfully, those people have been very generous in, post-retirement and allowing us the odd phone call and the like to find out things. And so there's been some pretty good continuity there. But literally within a handful of weeks of arriving on the scene, we had that massive flood event that was on both the Mississippi and the Ottawa rivers, and we have jurisdiction on both those areas. Again, it was the April of last year that we got notice that there were going to be changes to the Conservation Authorities Act. And then by summer, we'd learned that we were going to incur a 50% cut in our provincial allocation. And the new act also identified that we were likely going to see funding changes to our funding model. So there's been a lot of flex happening in the past year, but I would say that the team here has really rose to the occasion, and we're continuing to make good progress. So on the Water and Erosion Control Infrastructure Program, this provincial program supports CAs in doing capital works associated with water and erosion control infrastructure to the tune of 50%. And this past year, we applied for 2 projects, the Kashwakamak Lake Dam and the Shavamika Lake Dam. And we were very surprised when we didn't get funding for either. And as you can see, there's significant dollars associated for those. And so when we don't get 50% funding, either we need to defer the projects or look at different ways of financing them, or depending on the severity of the risk associated with not proceeding, potentially look at funding them up front, which would incur a significant increase on the levy. And so that's why we were reaching out to the municipalities earlier this year to say, listen, we need to remedy some of these issues that all the CAs are seeing with the WECI funding program to ensure that there's not downloading happening to municipalities, as all of us are experiencing aging infrastructure and pressures on that very limited budget that they have across the province. $5 million, I'm sure if you guys have done road work lately, you know, it's amazing how much you know, $1 million can disappear very quickly when you're doing major capital projects. So as a result, I mean, this was a real eye-opener to the board. And so this past summer, staff went away and we did an assessment, both on the operating side and the capital side, to look at what we could be doing to better identify in a more timely manner the full scope of pressures that we're seeing financially across the organization, and how we can prioritize both capital projects and operating pressures to mitigate the impacts on the municipal levy, as well as alternative funding sources. And all of this information would help to inform a strategic planning process that we're just commencing this fall. So the strategic plan, initially it was supposed to be carried out last year, but for all those reasons I identified, year 1 was pretty challenging. And so it was agreed that we would defer developing the strategic plan till this year. And then COVID hit. So we saw a further delay to that, but now we're just starting to get started on it this fall. And the bullets you see here are all the various different documents and pieces of information that we'll be using to help develop our strategic plan. And of course, we'll be reaching out to members, municipalities like yourselves, to identify if there's key issues you think we need to be addressing. So the reason why I've highlighted the Mississippi River Watershed Plan is because that's what I'm going to focus on for the remainder of my time here with you. So I'm just going to proceed with that. So a bit of background on the watershed plan. This is a profile view of our watershed. Most people are used to seeing a plan view, you know, a map that outlines the watershed and the river running through it. What this illustrates to you is how the elevation changes as the river flows downhill into the Ottawa River. And the thing I like about this illustration is it shows 2 key things. One is that this clearly illustrates, and I try not to say this facetiously, but water runs downhill. And sometimes that fact is lost on people when they're wanting us to manage the water. And ultimately what this helps people to understand is once water is in the river, it's coming down, and the degree to which we at MVCA and the other operators of dams on the system can control it is limited by where we have reservoir capacity. And so where you see these various dams are associated to where we have actual reservoir capacity. There are many more dams on the system, but there's no storage capacity associated with them, or not of a meaningful amount. So part of our key objective in partnering with municipalities like yourselves is to manage the water before it hits the system, because once it hits the system, we need to manage it, but we are limited in how we can manage it. So, so that's one of the key objectives of the watershed plan, is to work with municipalities and other players like MNRF and MECP and landowners to manage water and water resources in the watershed. So as part of one of the first steps we took in developing the watershed plan was to develop 4 backgrounders, and you see them listed there. And what the purpose of these background documents was to, document the facts that we know about the watershed today. So looking at numeric trends and things that are happening on the landscape or things that are happening in natural systems that would influence how we collectively manage the watershed going forward. And so what I'm going to focus on today is just the last one, which is the asset management backgrounder. And by the way, before I go into that, I just want to let you know that staff at all the municipalities were circulated this, and we received comments back, because our goal was to make sure that anything we said in these reports was factually accurate. So I believe we received some input from Central Frontenac on anything that we may have gotten wrong or nuanced and the like. So this next slide, what it illustrates to you is different types of dams. So the one in the upper left is the the High Falls Dam. And when people think about dams, when we're talking about dams, often they think in terms of the size and magnitude of the High Falls Dam, when in fact that is the largest by far dam we have on the system. And it's not even ours, it's OPG's, Ontario Power Generation. What you see on the upper right is much more typical of the type and size of dams that MVCA owns and operates. And you can see that the capacity to hold water and control the flow of water through it is much less significant than what you're going to see on that OPG dam. The photo to the lower right, what it illustrates is a typical road crossing with culverts. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because though we don't think of road crossings as dams, they actually function like dams. And the illustration to the left shows you that whenever you put any sort of structure and impediment on a waterway that impedes flow, it is effectively acting like a dam. And if you go into the legislation, this is actually considered a form of dam, which is why when you do works on the waterway, you need to seek out approvals from MVCA, because we're going to be able to help you understand what impact that might have on upstream and downstream systems. So this is, a case in point where collectively we manage the watershed. If you're familiar with Dalhousie Lake, downstream of you folks, the bridge at the outlet of Dalhousie Lake, and you may be familiar that Dalhousie Lake is prone to flooding. It truly does act as a dam on that lake. So when water comes down that falls at High Falls and enters the lake, it's moving now through the lake. But once it reaches that road crossing, the bridge at the outlet of the lake, it actually acts as a stop gate, and water pools behind it. And that's in part what causes flooding in Dalhousie Lake. It's not exclusively, but it's definitely a contributing factor. So I just wanted you to start to think of your road crossings as dams, and understand that the interrelationship between our infrastructure and your infrastructure in that respect. So then I wanted to talk to you a bit about conveyance assets. So obviously we're all familiar with creeks and rivers, but also to the extent that ditches and drains are obviously conveyance systems. I don't think you have any significant sewers and pump stations. You may around Sharbot Lake with some developments. I'm not familiar. But again, these are points of intersection between your assets or the assets owned by private landowners and the river and the management of the river. Now, given your landscape, I'm guessing you don't have many, if any, municipal drains. Is anybody able to confirm that? Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Okay, so, but roadside ditches are a major conveyance system. One of the things that they do is they accelerate the rate of flow. Now, there's a good reason for that. You want water off the road. And so the interrelationship between those ditches and the receiving water bodies is really important. we have a saying in the business that our goal is to slow the flow, because to the extent that we're able to reduce the rate at which water is hitting the main channel, it mitigates the flashiness of the system, and therefore its propensity to flood people out. So there's opportunities going forward for us to collaborate and work with you in terms of the design and commissioning, I'll say, of new ditches within the watershed in your municipality as development occurs. So this one is a blended image here. I'm showing in the background vegetation, and what I'm talking about here is water storage. When we do our modeling of the watershed and look at how much water hits the system during wet weather or spring freshet events, particularly under wet weather, 60% of water that hits the landscape never makes its way into the river due to the impact and the storage capacity of the natural systems, wetlands, forests, and vegetations. And so when people, say the CA is kind of fixated on natural resource protection, it is in part because of the huge role it plays in mitigating runoff into the river. And to the extent that we remove vegetation and pave over areas and reduce the permeability of the soil and landscape to absorb water, it significantly increases flows to the river. So we're always very cognizant about minimizing, where possible, the amount of landscape that's disturbed or paved over or made otherwise impervious, because it will increase the flows. And so as you can imagine, cumulatively across the watershed, as the watershed is developed, more and more land is being paved over or developed. And so more and more water is made available to hit the system. And so over time, the rate of flooding, the frequency of flooding, particularly given the impacts of climate change, are likely to increase. So we're strongly encouraging that municipalities work with developers and people wanting to develop their properties to really minimize the amount of vegetation that they're destroying or paving over and the like. So the last item on that bullet there is low impact development. This is a fancy term for something very simple. It's just approaches a land developer can take to minimize or slow the flow coming off their site. It's things like rain barrels, drainage swales, and the like, things, vegetated plantings to increase uptake of water and slow the rate of flow coming off their properties. So this is the timeline for the watershed plan. We started it a year ago, and at that point we established a public advisory committee. So I'm very pleased with the public advisory committee. We have representatives from across the watershed, from all different walks of life. And we've met with them numerous times over the past year to walk through those backgrounders, as well on a discussion paper that we're currently drafting. So if the backgrounders identified the state of the nation, as it were, and some of the trends and issues we're seeing on the landscape, the discussion paper is identifying all the actions that could potentially be taken to address those issues. So the discussion paper, as it's shaping up today, will identify what actions we're currently doing, because it's the decision to keep doing things, especially in these fiscal times where sometimes we're having to make trade-offs. So we're identifying what's being done today, how that could be changed or improved upon if we wanted to keep doing it, or are there different things that we might want to do? And the actions in the discussion paper, not just focused for MVCA, but also other service delivery partners like yourselves, municipal partners operating in the watershed, because there's a limited amount of control that we have over things. Municipalities, as you know, have a broad swath of responsibilities and tools at your disposal But all of us operating in the watershed have limited resources and have to make choices. So the purpose of the discussion paper is to really help engage yourselves in the broader community in a discussion about what are our options, what are our priorities, and what do we feel comfortable moving forward with, either ourselves or individual municipalities. So we're hoping to get that completed by the end of this year and get it out for consultation early next year, and be in a position to come back and prepare an actual watershed plan that, you know, details these goals, objectives, and actions by next spring. So with that, I think that's the last of it. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Some good information. I see Bill McDonald has his hand up. Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, Sally, I've just got a couple of questions. One, social, is Phil Sweetman still on the board of directors at Mississippi?
Yes, he is.
Oh, well, he's an icon there. Just make sure that he doesn't get into that idea of area rating the cost of these dams and putting all of the cost of that money on North Frontenac, where there's 7 or 8 dams in place there. But my question in regard to your plan, how much of that plan is actually going to be directed by the condition of the water control structures that are already in need of replacements? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So asset management is dealt with in 1 or 2 of the chapters. Right now we've got 8 chapters. So it's obviously a huge part of our financial decision making. The plan itself will have to look at the full mandate of the authority. Now, as you're aware, under the CA Act amendments, the province has identified what it believes should be mandatory services. Those elements haven't been enacted yet. We're waiting for the regulation. So depending on what the regulation says, we'll still be obligated to fulfill other elements of our mandate. But just as you do at the municipal level, you have to pick and choose where you allocate your resources. So I can tell you that Shabamika and Kashwakamak are high on our list. Shab really needs to be done next year. Kashwakamak, the board, we had some additional risk assessment work done, and we're looking that we can do it within the next 3 to 5 years. But as you saw, these are big ticket items. And then there's smaller but still significant capital projects that we're going to have to move forward with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I have a motion, and the motion is moved by Elwyn Burke and seconded by Victor Hayes, that council receive the delegation from Sally McIntyre on behalf of the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority for information. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Sally, and we will see you as the work progresses.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Madam Mayor, I just want you to know that if you see my hands flashing around here, I feel like Mike Pence during the debate, where I have one of these houseflies have decided he's going to take residence in my head here. So
he likes the top of your head, eh? All right.
I got the weapon.
There are no deferred items. Staff reports, and our first staff report is Development Services. I have a motion moved by Victor Hayes and seconded by Brett Cameron that council receive the construction details September 2020 report as prepared by the Development Service Assistant for information. Any questions or comments on the report? Anything you want to add, Andy? Hearing nothing from anyone. All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Moved by Nikki and seconded by Elwyn that council received the facilities overview report as prepared by the Manager of Development Services, CBO, for information. Any discussion? The numbers are going up. Bill, did you have your hand up?
No, but I'm wondering, did Elwin join us for the meeting, Madam Mayor?
Yes, he did.
Oh, he did. Okay. Okay. That's my
Elwin, you
question.
are with us? Sherry?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I just had a quick question for Andy. I was just inquiring, I noticed that there's some material at the Hinchinbrook Public School, and I was just curious as to what project it's for.
Through you, Madam Mayor. That is the bleachers and picnic tables. And they were moved to the fire hall in Parham today to start assembling them for the ballparks.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Andy.
Good. Elwin, we need you to confirm that you are with us. Vicki, did he get on the phone call?
He's speaking into the phone. He is speaking and saying he's there.
Okay, he's not coming through.
1 second, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Elwin, can you speak now?
Speak now.
Yes, yes.
There, now we can hear him.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't think he's still unmuted. I think that came through Councillor Nikki Gowdy's microphone.
Okay. Yeah, I do see that he's muted. Elwin, try it again.
Yes, I am here.
Okay, try it one more time. Okay.
I sent a request to unmute the microphone. It just may need to be accepted on the end with the microphone.
Nikki's gonna give him a hand.
Madam Mayor, I'm satisfied that he's here. It was because you had a mover seconding the motion, but I'm satisfied that he's here.
Okay, it just would be nice if we could hear him, if he has something to say. Okay. All those in favor of the motion as read? Motion's carried. Okay. Next is Public Works. Andy, you got off very easy. Do you have anything you want to tell us about how the hall's going, maybe, before we leave you?
Yeah, there was a few surprises in the hall.
No.
The couple of the plates were rotten at the top of the wall from a previous leak from years ago. And there was some framing missing where the dormers are that had to be filled in. And there was a beam that needed to be replaced at the front of the bay windows. But other than that, I don't think there's going to be too many more surprises.
These old buildings, eh? You never know until you get started ripping them apart. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing nothing else, we'll go to Public Works. And I have a motion moved by Victor and seconded by Brent that council receive the Public Works activity report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated October the 13th, 2020 for information. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Next, we have a motion moved by Brent and seconded by Victor. Whereas RFQ, request for quote, number PW 2020-07 was released on September the 10th, 2020 and closed on September the 24th, 2020 at 1 p.m. And whereas the bid results were opened at 1:05 p.m. on September the 24th, 2020, having received one permissible bid for this RFQ. And whereas the Public Works Manager has reviewed the bids and recommends that the submission received from Gananoque Chev be accepted as the successful bidder. Now therefore be it resolved that Council award Gananoque Chev as the successful bidder in the amount of $43,961, excluding HST, for the purchase of one 3,500 single-wheel extend-a-cab, gas-powered, as prescribed in the quotation submission, and that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for this purchase. And further, that Council authorize the Treasurer to take these funds from the 2020 Public Works Reserves. Questions, comments? Tyson is with us.
Yeah.
Bill and then Brent.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and I see in the second purchases, we're not taking any money out of reserves, but we're ordering 2 single-wheel extended cab trucks. Is it possible that rather than ordering 2 of those, we could get away with 1 and not remove anything from reserve?
That's the next motion, Bill. That's not this motion.
I understand that, but this one is removing, taking money from reserves to pay for it.
And the next one's out of the next one's out of the 2021 budget, 2021 budget.
All right.
Okay.
I stand corrected. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Tyson, any comments? You're on mute.
I jumped screens again. Through you, Madam Mayor. No comments on that.
Okay, Brent?
Oh, good.
Can't hear you, Brent. No. No. No, you're muted again. Keep going. No. Okay.
Your Worship, it's while he's trying to unmute that, what is the current balance in your reserve, Tyson, for Public Works?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I will have to check with our treasurer on that.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
I'll just add to that. The reason I don't know the exact balance is we're debating on whether to take a loan for the project we did with the surface treatment over on the Henderson Arden and Oak Flats Road, and it's very close whether to take a small loan or to take that out of reserve. So I'll be able to update you with that. Michael and I were going to sit down and do that this week.
Thanks, Tyson.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to check.
Bill has his hand up.
Brent, would you like to write a question out and I can see it? Do you want me to hold the vote until you have that question or? No? Okay. All right. Okay, if there are no more questions, Bill? Okay, Bill?
Yes, I just wondered, through you, Madam Mayor, to Tyson, what was the delivery date on this new vehicle? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
The delivery date on this vehicle was requested to be in 2020. It won't be until the spring of 2021.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Our next motion, moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Sherry Wan. Whereas RFT, request for tender, number PW 2020-06, was released on September the 10th, 2020 and closed on September 24th, 2020 at 1 p.m. And whereas the bid results were opened at 1:05 p.m. on September the 24th, 2020, having received one permissible bid for this RFT. And whereas the Public Works Manager has reviewed the bid and recommends that the submission received from Gananoque Chev be accepted as the successful bidder. Now therefore be it resolved that Council award Gananoque Chev as the successful bidder in the amount of $87,922 excluding HST for the purchase of 2 3,500 single-wheel extend-a-cab gas-powered truck as prescribed in the tender submission. And further that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for this purchase and include this expenditure in the 2021 budget. Discussion. Tyson, is there any reason we didn't do an RFT for 3 trucks?
Through you, Madam Mayor, at the time we thought we were going to be able to get one off the lot. We thought we were going to be able to get one right away before the winter. Doesn't look like that's going to happen now. We're going to be really happy if we do get it in 2020, but it's probably not going to happen.
Okay.
Then would it not have been a better idea to put have the 3 trucks in for discussion in the 21 budget? Since it's not going to be delivered until then, Tyson?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's an option I haven't explored yet. Mike, when I talked to Michael, we did have the reserves to do that. That was his suggested method.
Thank you.
Okay. And we really have to order it now to get it in 2021 anyway. So it just will be.
I can see ordering it, right?
Yeah, and this will be on the top of the roads budget for 2021. Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the only thing I'd like to add is that I'd just like to thank Heather. She did a great job creating these reports. She prepared all 3 of them, and while I was trying to work from home and while I was on vacation, so I'd like to thank her for that. Thanks.
Okay, great. Good job, Heather. Okay, all those in favor? Nobody's opposed, motion's carried. Nikki, if Elwin...
I hope the council gets to ride in all these new vehicles.
Nikki, if Elwin is opposing something, can you let me know on your screen? Okay, excellent. Okay, we have a motion moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Victor Hayes, that council receive this updated report entitled Accountability, Training, and Education for Council Members as prepared by the CAO clerk for information. And further, that council provide dates to the CAO clerk on their availability, and the CAO clerk will confirm the date once Mr. Mascarin and North Frontenac Township has been contacted. So we need to get trained and we need to pick a date. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, I was speaking with Cheryl Robson today, so if council has any idea right now for any dates that might be good for them, so they're having their meeting at the end of October, so I think the 23rd of October, and we can present those dates to them and see if that works for them as well, but they are definitely very interested in doing our joint training, be a little bit cheaper for us.
Well, definitely hunting season is out.
Yes, so it's going to be, it will probably be after that in November.
Okay, so you'll get back to us then, maybe send a doodle poll around for people to pick some dates?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments on this motion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, road allowance. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Brent Cameron. That council approve in principle the recommendation of the CAO clerk to close that part of the unopened road allowance between concession 3 and 4, Hinchinbrook, part of lot 2, 13R 12825, and being PIN 36156-0193 as applied for by Beverly Ann Martin. And that we proceed to a public meeting to close the said road allowance before passing said bylaw. And further, that council agree to abate the purchase price for the road allowance by an amount equal to the proportionate share of the last 3 years of tax payments. Discussion? Tom? Tom, hold your space bar down. You're muted.
Pardon me.
Okay.
Cindy, I'm just a little confused with this map and this 1124 Simmons Lane. Is this, when you look at the map here, I'm going to go off and going back to the actual map. When I look at this map, I see a triangle on this lot. I see a triangle which is shaded in, and I assume that's where the road allowance is the actual, I guess, where this triangle is. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, but you say in there that the structure is near, the 2 structures, or at least the main structure, is on the road allowance. I don't see anything there. I see a large structure. If you look at the map, over almost midway in the unshaded portion. and I see no buildings on that portion. So I see two small structures down near the water, or at least down at the bottom, rather.
It's half on the shaded portion and half on the part 3.
And if you look at the R plan, oh, Megan's
there we
on
go.
the ball. Megan's drawing that on the R plan that shows the location.
Okay, will I go back?
Now, do you see it, Tom?
Okay, I'm going back over. Okay, I went over to my iCompass. Okay, okay, I see that now. Okay.
Yeah, look at your screen.
Yep.
Okay.
So
yeah, the building's built on the road allowance.
Okay, all right. When I looked at the aerial photograph, I didn't see it. It may be covered with trees. I'm not sure.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about this whole triangle to make it part of part 3. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's a little tiny piece just to the west of it as well. That is, yeah, Megan's got her little pointer there, right where that circle is. So there's a little piece there that she owns. Then there's the road allowance in the middle, which is what she's applying for to close. And then part 3. And so she owns that little tiny piece and part 3, and she's seeking to obtain ownership of the middle piece so we can merge them all together.
That's outlined by the yellow line there.
The road allowance piece, yes.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, all right. I just couldn't see that on the map that I had, and I was just, okay.
It is challenging. The closer you zoom it in, the blurrier it gets, and it is hard to see, particularly when the roof of the building, I think, is brown and it blends in.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bill?
Yes, in reading the information provided to us, I assume that they've been taxed as if they own all of this property up to this point. Am I correct in understanding it that way?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
and so what we're doing is suggesting that the taxes they've already paid is equivalent to whatever value might be registered there.
That's right.
Right, I agree. Thank you.
And that is consistent with what was done with the neighbor to the immediate west.
Right.
Okay, Brent?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
yeah.
It was some stupid setting on my end. So really quick question. I know it was referenced about the neighbor and that we did something similar with them. Did we deal with the road allowance in their case as we're attempting to do in this one?
You mean with abating the taxes for the cost of the land, Cindy?
Well, I mean, we're just talking about abating, right? We're not talking about a closure, right?
No, the closing costs would still be paid by the applicant, right?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, that is correct. They would still be applying to, they'd be covering all the costs to register the bylaw, to be closing the road allowance because it's never formally been closed. She won't have to do a survey because there's already a part to describe it, but she would be paying all the legal expenses and then the fair market value of the property minus the tax abatement. The other closure was done, I think, Kathy might be able to correct me, in 2015. I did review that bylaw and it did speak to the abatement. It was, it's a larger piece on that parcel, but it was appraised at less value because it didn't have waterfront.
Yeah, that's correct.
I guess my question is the road allowance still does it still exist on the other property?
No, through you, Madam Mayor, it has been closed and conveyed to the neighbor. So this is just a little remnant piece.
That's correct.
So it's just a stranded piece, and there's been no discussion about because I'm assuming that the piece we're talking about that was closed was the one to the immediate left when you're looking at the map. Mm-hmm. So we're just talking about essentially a stranded triangle on one piece of property existing as a road allowance. And I'm just wondering if there's been any conversation about getting a resolution on that.
Well, I believe you're correct in that the balance of the road allowance did get closed and conveyed to the neighbor to the immediate west. This little piece is the subject of what we're trying to do today in terms of doing a closure so we can add it to the applicant's property. It will resolve the issue in the sense that she can clear her title. She's had one failed sale already as a result of this. So by closing and conveying this will allow her to clear up her title so she can sell her property.
This is another situation where people don't know where the road allowances are in the middle of a piece of property and they build on them. Okay.
It happens a lot.
It does. Okay, no other questions or comments. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, we have a motion moved by Victor and seconded by Elwin that council approve in principle the recommendation of the CO clerk to close that part of an unopened road allowance between concession 3 and 4, Olden, being part lot 2, 13R 3495, and being part of PIN 36221-0064, and quit claim any municipal interest in part 2 to the owner of said PIN. And that we proceed to a public meeting to close the said road allowance before passing said bylaw, and further that council quit claim its interest for a nominal sum of $2 and hereby waives the requirement for appraisal of fair market value for the quit claim. Discussion. Cindy, do you want to tell us why we're quit claiming this one?
Yes, so this one's slightly different than the other one we just spoke about in that we don't have title to it right now. It is in a way similar to the Williams Lane situation where we have a property that was not converted to the new system because there was a title claim or a dispute conflict over the title ownership. The last 2 deeds of the owner's chain of title have included this part in their chain of title, so they have paper title to it. The reason it wasn't converted is due to the fact that there's the residual interest of it being a road allowance, and until we close it, that interest will remain on title until we close and quit claim it. So I had a really brief discussion with Cunningham Swan prior to preparing the report, and they confirmed that it would be appropriate to do a quit claim because it's still in the paper system.
So this creates a cloud on the title, right? That they cannot get a clear deed. Okay.
That's correct.
Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, moved by Bill and seconded by Sherry. Whereas council passed resolution number 330-2020 on September the 22nd, 2020 to remove the Lions Monument from Fossey Memorial Park to the area of the Railway Museum. And whereas the Charlotte Lake and District Lions Club would like to place the monument next to their existing sign at the corner of Road 38 and Elizabeth Street. And whereas staff have identified the municipal road allowance at this location has sufficient room to house both the Lions Monument and their existing sign. Now therefore be it resolved that council rescind resolution number 330-2020 dated September the 22nd, 2020, and further that council approve the placement of the Lions Monument on the municipal road allowance located at the corner of Road 38 and Elizabeth Street. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, motion moved by Cindy Couchy, seconded by Tom Dewey. Whereas Section 39 of the Planning Act permits the council of a municipality to authorize the temporary use of land, buildings, or structures for any purpose set out therein that's otherwise prohibited by the bylaw, and whereas council considered all written and oral submissions received on this application, the effect of which help council make an informed decision. Now therefore be it resolved that council received the zoning bylaw amendment application ZB0120, Wemp and Charlevoix, public meeting and amending bylaw report. and further that council consider passing the amending bylaw later in the meeting, provided any comments coming forth at the public meeting can be adequately addressed. Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Moved by Brent and seconded by Nikki. Whereas pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, the Council of a Municipality may enact bylaws regulating the use of lands and the erection of buildings and structures thereon. And whereas the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac considered all written and oral submissions received on this application, the effect of which helped Council make an informed decision. Now therefore be it resolved that Council received the zoning bylaw amendment application ZB 0220 Verona Animal Hospital Professional Corporation Public Meeting and Amending Bylaw Report. And further that the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac consider the amending bylaw under agenda item 12, bylaws and agreements. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, we are at committees and other reports. Moved by Bill and seconded by Sherry that Council received the MVCA September Board meeting summary for information. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Victor and seconded by Elwin that Council received the approved RVCA board minutes for its meeting July 23rd, 2020, and the draft minutes for August 27th, 2020 for information. Any discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor? Can I see your hands again? Okay, motion's carried. Either I'm too fast or you guys are too slow, one or the other. All right, moved by Nikki and seconded by Victor that Council received for information the following correspondence, and it's number 1 to 8. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Bill McDonald, that bylaw 2020-48 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2011-52, zoning bylaw number 01-20 Wemp Charlebois, as amended, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 13th day of October 2020. Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Moved by Brent and seconded by Nikki that bylaw 2020-49 being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2011-52, zoning bylaw number 0220 Verona Veterinarian Hospital Professional Corporation as amended be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 13th day of October 2020. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. My goodness, I only have one motion left. Is there anything, let me just get my agenda here. Any notices of motion?
None.
Any giving of notices of motion?
No.
Any new or other business?
No.
Okay, there's no closed session?
Correct.
So, 5:18, we did well. I have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Sherry that bylaw 2020-50 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held October 13th, 2020 be read a first, second, and third time and passed this 13th day of October 2020. And further, this meeting be adjourned until October the 27th, 2020, said meeting to be held via video conference. Discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried.
Stay safe, everyone.
Perfect.
Yes, we'll see everyone tomorrow night on Zoom.
On Zoom, yes.
I didn't get an invitation yet, so I see she sent an email today.
Oh, good. Everybody's got their invitation to get in?
Yeah, she came from, is it Brianna or
Brianna, yeah.
Yeah, it came from Brianna.
Carrie,
yes.
I will send you one right now.
Oh, thank you, Megan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. All right, everyone. Good night, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
All right.
Tomorrow night.
Craig Sakai has a question. I don't know if you take questions from the media.
Sure we do. Since it's Craig,
okay.
We will.
Craig, I am unmuting your microphone now. Oh, it says allow to talk is not permitted because Craig is using an older version of Zoom. I can promote Craig if you're okay with that so that you can answer his question.
Sure, let's promote him.
Okay, so Craig will get kicked out and come back in 1 second.
We should congratulate him on his promotion.
That's right.
Craig?
Hello, Craig.
Madam Mayor, if I may. Hello,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
this is Victor here. Just to Megan, I'm looking through my email and I have something from Brianna saying you should have received it, and I'm looking back and I can't find anything either.
That was what I had as well, Victor.
Yeah, just the reminder email, but not the invitation.
So maybe we should send it out to everyone again.
Yes, please.
I can do that. I will confirm that everyone's correct email addresses were circulated. The email, I think, will say that it's from me coming through Zoom, similar to today's invite, but I will follow up.
Thank you so much, Megan.
I think you're right, Megan, because I think that's how I got it as well. Yes, it came about, the one from Megan, I received it about 6 minutes after 2 this afternoon, and that was just after Brianna's.
Okay.
So if council wants to check that.
Craig, you have a question.
Oh, you got to get closer to the camera, Craig. Higher up.
Can't hear you.
Something about calling Kathy, I think.
What did he say?
I think it said something about calling Kathy.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And if I could, Madam Mayor, I just checked. Yeah, I have something from Megan for that special meeting. So it wasn't from Brianna. Brianna just sent the update.
That's correct, and that's my mistake, because yes, I did get one from Megan just a few minutes, basically, I think within 10 minutes after. So
one of the problems is the Zoom meetings, if they come too early, they get lost in all the emails that come.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Megan's reminders that it comes up and says the next hour you've got a meeting. That's perfect. Okay, let's, Craig can't talk to us. He's gonna call Kathy. So Kathy, we're gonna say goodnight and leave you and Craig to answer and talk about a question.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.